I want to show you 9 different ways that you can use to get clients for your agency right now. So all these strategies I've used before and they all work. And I just want to show you kind of how they work. So anyways, 9 different ways. Here is some testimonials over the past month of people that have used all these different strategies. You can read all this: Facebook, SMS, Google Calendar, invites, everything, right? It's all on here. Okay, so only strategies that I've actually used. Okay, and so I'm not going to give you any fluff like people that just read an article and they're like, hey, this is how you do it, right? None of that. No paid ads involved. Okay, so we're not having to pay per appointment really, and so it can all be automated as well to where it's really easy to consistently push out a ton of numbers. So send like 1,000 messages a day across all the channels. And I'm not going to get into how to do everything, but there is a free course explaining how to do each one of these strategies in the description below. It is completely free. It's free, all right? So don't worry about it. I teach you how to do everything. I do not like a lot of YouTubers or people that make these videos that they give you an overview of how everything works, but they never get into the how-to, the nitty-gritty. And so I get into the nitty-gritty in that course, so you can watch that. Cool. First strategy I like to use is SMS. Now, the reason I put this at the first is because it's one of the main strategies I like to use because no one else really does it. So cold email, everybody does cold email, and you probably get like 150 emails a day, right? And out of those 150 emails, how many of those do you read? And so if the average person gets 150 emails and the average person doesn't read all the emails, then what's the likelihood of them actually responding to your email? So in order to get better results, we have to target them in a different channel. And that's why I have 9 different methods here, because these are all different channels that you can use. So if one thing isn't working for you, you can try another channel. But SMS works really well because I think there's a statistic that's like 95% of people read every text within the first 5 minutes. And if that's the case, and nobody's reading emails and everybody's reading their texts, why wouldn't you want to be where people's eyes are, right? You want to go where people's attention is. And so if we're right there on the text and they're reading every single text that they're getting and we look as human as possible, then we're going to get a ton more replies on that method rather than email, right? Because no one else is doing that, or everybody else is doing that and no one else is doing SMS, okay? So all you got to do is get a lead list of companies and blast a personalized message. It's super fast. You get amazing results, all right? So on average, I get about a 20 to 40% reply rate on SMS campaigns. Now, it really depends on the offer. So if the offer isn't as compelling, if it's not a direct need for people, then they might not respond as easily. It's kind of hard to sell broccoli on SMS or any cold outreach strategy. So if you think about it, broccoli isn't something that people really want or need right now. So it's going to be hard to sell that. But it puts you miles ahead of the competition if you have a good offer, because no one else is really using this strategy. I have a lot of people on this strategy. They're booking 15 sales calls a day through this, costing them less than $1 per lead, because it's just super easy, super fast, and it gives you really good results. Okay, that's SMS. Next one is LinkedIn. Now, obviously, there are some, I have email in here, I have LinkedIn, but I'm going to put them right here just because it is a way. I've used it in the past and it works. Now, what's cool about this is that it's easy to set up and maintain. So you can kind of set it up one time and forget it for about a month, and then you can come back to it a month later. Obviously, you want to check up on LinkedIn every day. You kind of just see if anyone replies. But what's cool is that, it'll send maybe 100 connection requests a day, and you just don't have to do anything. You just wait for people to reply. And then if someone replies, then great, you can turn it into a booked call. But easy to set up and maintain. You're not going to get a ton of leads from it. You're not going to be, I know some people that get 40, 50 calls a month through LinkedIn. But for me, I get maybe like 10 to 15 calls from LinkedIn a month when I have it set up and managed properly. And so you're not going to get a ton of calls, but there'll be a higher quality. So that is LinkedIn. All right, next one. Email. Again, I don't really like email, but I'm just going to put it in here because it works. It's consistent. You just have to get a lead list, create a campaign, and send. And then you need to do a lot of volume in order for this to work. So if you really want it to work, you have to send from multiple accounts every single day, and just to get a couple calls in the door. And so it can work, and it really depends on the industry. Now, for some industries, maybe email is the only thing that works. So you might as well get really good at email. But for the most part, I really don't recommend email as your main strategy, just because it's kind of dying. Or it's not really dying, but it gets less and less results every day. So, but something that is working that no one really is doing is Google Calendar invites. So if you haven't heard of this, it's a new method, a new strategy I've kind of crafted myself. Now, there are some other people doing this, but we created a way for you to automate this for free, and it is in the course. So if you want to watch that, you can check that out. But basically what it does is that it sends Google Calendar invites to people, and all it is, okay, let's go to my calendar for an example. Here's my calendar. As you can see, pretty a lot of booked calls. All these red are booked calls, the blue are booked calls, all that. So let's just say, one of these guys is a Google Calendar invite. Actually, let me just go to, boom. All right, so here is Google Calendar invites. So it's just sending to a lot of people, and it's going to say, hey, I got 40 sales calls for that company name, this company name, that company name. And so you can, yeah. All right, and then you have a description, just, hey, I know this is weird, I just want to catch your attention. I help these companies get this end result. If you're free, we can, hop on a call next week and, have a booking link right here. So you can send to 200 people at a time or 150 people at a time, and you can send actually 2,000 a day, but 150 per chunk, I guess, if that makes sense. I have a whole video on how to do it. It's pretty cool. It gives you really good results, and no one else is really doing it, right? So if you find these unique ways of reaching out to people, people will appreciate it and they'll book a call with you because you're doing something unique. Okay, so that's one strategy. Pretty unique, pretty intriguing. Next up, Facebook. Facebook is super good. It is just super consistent. I love it. I make at least 10, 20 grand a month just from Facebook. Okay, so try Facebook if you haven't already. It really depends on your audience. So if there's a Facebook group with your target audience in the Facebook group, then use Facebook. Okay, because if I'm targeting real estate agents and there's a Facebook group with real estate agents, then you might as well reach out to them because they huddle themselves together in this group. And it's a high quality group, right? There are people that are in there that are in your industry, so you might as well reach out to them and to get their attention. So all you got to do is send friend requests and then turn them into book calls. And I have an automation on how to do this. It's in the course as well, and it's really, really easy to run. So that's that. Instagram, it's also pretty easy to run. Now this also depends on the industry. So some industries aren't very good for Instagram. I can't really give you, let's say, if you wanted to target SaaS, right? The way that Instagram works is that you target based on a hashtag. So if I said hashtag real estate, you probably have a lot of real estate agents posting in that. If I target hashtag fashion, you might have a lot of just random girls posting, their fashion, not as much brands. So what kind of fashion brands, if I said e-commerce fashion, I don't know, something like that, or just e-commerce as a hashtag, you just have to think about what hashtag would my audience use. So if I'm a chiropractor, I probably would use hashtag chiropractor. And so that's kind of the way Instagram works. Now, it's really easy to do, and it's a consistent lead strategy, so you might as well just try it out, push it out, and see if it works. And it's really good for specific industries. So I target for business coaches, it works pretty well. Certain industries it works really well for. So again, and this is a game of, out of the 9 strategies, I don't really expect you to use all of them. But if you use 4 or 5 and they work really well, might as well stick with those. Or if you just have one that works really well, might as well try all of them, find the one that really works, and just stick with that. Cool. Next up, voicemail. So this is a really good one. So you just got to get a list of phone numbers, kind of like the same with SMS. Get a list of phone numbers, send an automated voicemail. So you just record yourself saying, hey, I know this is weird. I just want to reach out and say, just ask if you're interested in this offer, blah, blah, blah. Or you're free to chat sometime this week. Or call me back if you're interested. And then you wait for callbacks. So you'll just get a ton of people calling you back saying, yeah, I'm interested, or you're free, next week, or how does it work? Or they'll just ask you questions. And what's cool about this is you'll get the decision makers on the phone with you because they're calling you back directly. And it's an easy way to talk to warm leads because they already kind of know your offer. Now, sometimes you'll get on the call with people that are like, hey, you just called me, and they don't really listen to the voicemail. But now you got the owner on the phone with you, and you can just pitch them your service, which is pretty cool. And what's cool about this is it works for almost any industry because for some industries, it's harder to find a cell phone number, so it's harder to do the SMS campaigns that I was talking about earlier. And so if you're targeting, let's say, car dealerships, it might be harder to find those personal cell phone numbers of, owners and founders of car dealerships. But if we just send an automated message, most of the phone numbers are going to be landlines, right? But if we send a voicemail to the landline, it's going to work, right? So might as well send that voicemail to the landline, and then, they can call us back if they're interested. Cool. Next up, WhatsApp. Now, this is similar to SMS, and obviously, because it's just, WhatsApp. And you can target any country, which is cool with SMS. You can target any country, but it's there's some rules around the UK. It might be a little, you don't want to get in trouble and certain things. So WhatsApp is different because it's owned by Facebook or Meta, so you don't have to worry about any of those rules. Target any country. It's cheaper than SMS. Now, the problem is you can only send 50 messages per day per account, and so you have to get multiple accounts to do, let's say 1,000 per day. But the reply rate is usually pretty high when it comes to SMS, especially if you're doing other countries outside of the US. Because not a lot of people in the US use WhatsApp. About 70 million people use WhatsApp, but every other country, a lot of people use WhatsApp. Now, 70 million is a little less than a third of the country, maybe a fourth of the country uses WhatsApp. But in every other country, like everybody uses WhatsApp apparently, because I mean, I don't really know because I've never really been in any other country. But it's easy to hold a conversation and to turn into booked calls. The reason is because WhatsApp is, the social profiles are more, people are willing to have a conversation more because they can see your face, they can see your profile, they're willing to kind of hold a conversation, go back and forth. With SMS, email, there's not as much back and forth. There's not like, oh, hey, how's your day going? No one does that on email because it's a little harder to manage the conversation there. So with WhatsApp, it is kind of easier to manage the conversation because they can see their profile, they're already on WhatsApp, so they're kind of there, and it's easy to book calls and turn an easy conversation into a booked call on WhatsApp. So try it out, test it out, it works pretty well. Next, iMessage. Now this is a new strategy I just created as well, and this is similar to SMS, and it's just iMessage. So it's only sending to Apple phones. Again, you don't have to worry about, you can send to any country because you don't have to worry about the roaming fees or anything because it's through Apple, and it's like Wi-Fi texting. It's not really texting people because it's through Apple and iMessage. It's basically free if you have an iPhone. Now, you might be able to do it without an iPhone. I haven't tested it out yet, but if you have an iCloud account, you might be able to do it. And it's super personalized because you have the blue bubbles, and blue bubbles, obviously, if you can't really automate an Apple message or like an iMessage, so people assume that it's a real person, which is great, and it's a super quick way to get leads. So you can just push 1,000 messages at one time. You can send 1,000 messages per day per account, and if you push out 1,000 messages, you get a ton of replies really, really quickly out of that 1,000 messages. So that one works really well. Anyways, that's it. That's all the strategies that you can use to get consistent leads for your agency right now. I've used all of them. They all work. All right. And I have calls in my calendar like for almost all the strategies I just explained. And so try them out, test them for yourself. If you want me or my team to help you set up these campaigns for you, you can book a call directly with me, and there'll be a link in the description below. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for watching.